drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Barstew's Inquiry Sunday Sermon. My name's Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk, and joining me are my two usual cohorts in the weekly discussion that we chew the fat on all the racing hot topics. It's John Lang and Chris Lorne Malvo from Twitter.
Good evening.
Evening, guys.
Evening, Al.
Yeah, plenty to talk about this year, and we've got some questions as well. Before I get on with those, just like to touch on a few things. We've been asked about jockeys' names. Now, obviously, we get new listeners, jockeys and trainers' nicknames, and we're getting quite a few questions. What's the shirt? What's Thick Dave? What's who's Happy Tim, etc., etc. Well, if you go on barstewards.co.uk, there's an extensive glossary of nicknames, and we're perfectly fine about telling you why. It's all a bit of fun, but yeah, it's just like a schoolyard, really. Anyway, so that's the first thing. Second thing is our schedule for this week, which is extremely busy, and we don't want to lose listeners. We want you to tune in because we've got a tremendous show tomorrow. It's the Royal Ascot preview show. Catherine Fry is out the cellar. Myself, John, and Quentin Franks will be turning up tomorrow evening around the 7:30 mark. That'll be online. And then for you addicts, me and John, with me half pissed up, late in the afternoon, just after racing each evening, Tuesday to Thursday, we'll be discussing the day's events in a light-hearted manner. Then Friday, you'll be sick of us by then. It's the normal Bar Stewards weekend preview show, and then the normal Sunday sermon to follow. So now we've got that out of the way, let's chew some fat. And it started off very badly for me on Saturday morning. I awoke with the crows squawking, and it was about 5:30, 5:40, 6 o'clock, and I looked at Twitter, nothing doing. Then all of a sudden, Twitter started to go haywire. Up popped Sandown and Epsom Clerk of the Course, Andrew Cooper. And I'm thinking, what have I done now? And I did have some gin the night before, as usual, on Friday evening. Yeah, I made a few tweets. I said that you wouldn't get ground like you got when Giant's Causeway battled Callanese up the Sandown Hill. And then he absolutely earned me with a terrific tweet. And fair play for the clerk, really, coming on, because he did answer a few questions as well. But he actually said, he goes, well, that's interesting, because I was actually Clark back then. So
he had you, middle stump.
Absolutely. It was the in-swinging Yorker, and the lot went.
The Saints grain, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
I'm there feeling bad. And I'm thinking, this is going to be bad for me. I've been earned. So I kind of came clean. I said, yeah, fair play. And who was first on to post? Who was first on to sort of snigger away at the dirty clerk? It was Gravy Train Graham, straight on. Cunningham, straight on, straight with the ship. Unbelievable. Disgraceful behaviour from Graham Cunningham. And when you see the likes on the first, I mean, this is why we've got a crap game, is it not, chaps? Because the likes are all from a lot of them are like the media hacks and and you think to yourself, why are they liking this? Because in a way, right, ourselves, Horse Betters Forum, maybe other people that are alerting punters to going changes on Twitter. Andy Richmond does the same. He alerts punters when the grounds change. Right? Why are we having to do this?
And all these media lovies huddling together in a big communal cuddle when one of them kicks you in the bollocks.
Yeah.
It's like akin to cheering when the Indians cut the Lone Ranger's cock off, isn't it?
I don't think I saw that episode. Was that on Saturday morning, or I don't remember that. Googling it now. No,
it might have only occurred in my head, Chris.
I think, well,
several other suspect incidents.
Yes, it's a bit of a schadenfreude, isn't it? Sort of taking pleasure in others' demise. Yes, but of course it's all very clubbable, isn't it? It's they've got vested interests, all stick together, everything's great. They're all hard working, or they're all, all geniuses. So yeah, it's not really surprising, is it? But disappointing, really.
To be fair, it was a cracking tweet. I doff my cap. I put myself right in it. But I think, like you said, the sheer delight amongst the racing press, so to speak, was pretty sort of revealing, shall I say? Because this is what on this show we've championed this for a long time about the state of the ground. Nick Davis obviously is a good contributor to the show, and he's got lots of data on past goings, even going back to the early 2000s, 2007. He highlighted to Andrew Cooper about the decline of the words "good to firm" in actual going, not just descriptions, but time-based performances. The lack of good to firm now is what we're all alarmed at. And John, can I ask you? Andrew Cooper stated to another one of our listeners that he's not under any instruction by the powers that be. So why are we? And I'm not just singling Andrew Cooper out. This is like probably more widespread than just Andrew Cooper. But why have we gone down that path? Why have we gone from watering for good to firm, quick ground, just to make sure it's not like bone jarring, rattling, to we're going to water for good?
Well, it's a shock to the animal rights lobby for starters, isn't it?
Mm.
No. In addition to that, I think the fact that the BHA ritually refused to really get their arms around this and issue a firm directive. I mean, there was a directive issue, wasn't there, where there was supposed to was good to firm, but in the main, there's nothing written down because nobody's ever been done for watering to good to soft, even, have they?
No, it's not like they dish out fines or like they do for jockeys turning up late or something like that.
Mr. Cooper says that there is no directive, just like there's no direction to where the sport's going. You can't just lay this one at Harrington's door because this has been a shambles a lot longer than she's been in the hot seat. But it's just typical of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Chris, as a punter yourself, what? Yeah. How do you feel over the last few years? How it's gone sort of ground wise? Do you genuinely feel now that the Clarks are just making the game a little bit impossible for punters? It's like punters are an afterthought.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's hard enough to work out which is the fastest horse in any particular race. But, and obviously, as we know, that horses transmit their ability through their hooves. If you've got issues with whether or not you can trust the official going description, that complicates the game massively. I mean, I've lost count a number of times where you bet horses on fast ground and then subsequent races at that particular meeting show that the ground's sort of on the easy side of good. And yet the description is, good to firm good. So I that's a real problem. I think if there is really any edges that punters can have by, going to the races, is walk the fucking track and check the ground yourself. Because I think you could obtain an edge by doing your own going assessment almost, because I have no faith whatsoever in official going descriptions, other than, is it or is it not a bog? If it's not a bog, then that's the only sort of assessment you can make. But I've got no faith at all in it, and no one seems to be bothered. Because as long as the animal rights lobby are placated, as long as field sizes are, or the sort of horses that a particular meeting are trying to attract turn up, no one cares about the punter. Who cares?
Well, like a good friend of the show, Stuart Williams, he gets his jockeys to walk the tracks.
Yeah, I just don't believe the going descriptions. The fact that they're able to change going description immediately after the first race, where there's no further precipitation or whatever, tells you that they're just relying on what the jockeys are sort of telling them. That's just no way to run so-called elite sport, because that's what they keep telling us. This is elite sport. These are athletes, equine and human. Well, nothing sort of leads me to think this is anything other than, a semi-professional kind of village gymkhana at the minute.
Well, you see, I mean, I'm just Andrew Cooper in particular. He runs two tracks. He runs Epsom and Sandown. They're like chalk and cheese. I just wonder sometimes if the Clark maybe treats Sandown a little bit like Epsom, because I get some of the arguments regarding Epsom. It's downhill. It's undulating. It's on very, very fast ground, you probably don't want bad horse racing injuries or horses pulling up feelingly, in front of the world when you're running the Derby and Oaks and things like that. I kind of get that, right? I'm not saying I support it. I kind of get the reasoning why they do put plenty on these days, but we can see what it's doing at Epsom and Sandown, as we saw for the 2 days at Sandown this weekend. We saw you had to, mainly wide was an advantage. I'm not saying it was a massive advantage, but it was an advantage. Everything sort of came sort of middle. I think barely nothing made all over the 2 days, which is immensely strange for a track like Sandown. Nothing made all. And I think this is where, why you watch, for example, so I've had the argument. So an horse runs downhill on fast ground, that's really dangerous, or really fast ground is dangerous. But then we've got Brighton, for example. That's quite a big downhill. We get a lot of firm there. And yet, so then Sandown's uphill. So why are we watering heavily uphill? Like, why the need to put plenty on up the hill when that's not going to hurt your joints? I mean, I know as getting older now, I feel it in my knees when I'm walking downhill or a steep cliff. You feel it in your knees. When you're walking up a hill, you might be panting for breath, but you're not feeling it in your joints. So
he's right. I mean, he's under no explicit direction, but I think, as John said, over a period of time, by convention, just that people are doing it without actually really understanding why they're doing it. It's it's almost incremental. It's sort of crept in as that you have to chuck loads of water on because it's sunny or hot weather's predicted. But I don't actually think that they're rationally thinking why they're actually doing it and what the benefit is. I think it's just because everybody else does, and by a process of lots of people doing it at the same time, that's kind of how we do it, isn't it? Chuck water on.
John, like me, are you disappointed with the media in a way? Because obviously we know what we think of. I mean, my top two are Lydia Islop and Nick Luck. I think I've said before on the show, I think they're great broadcasters, but I'm really disappointed with their sort of attitude to all this. They seem to interview the clerk of the course and seem to accept his explanation without, as if that's the right thing to do. When it's not. I can speak as a punter of many years, like yourself. This does not feel the right thing to do, because not just speaking from our pockets, but it doesn't make any sense sometimes what they actually do.
I think Racing TV per se are probably a little too close to the action, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's a lot of courses involved with Racing TV. Back to the days of Rod Fabricius when this was all set up. And I do think that the relationship between Racing TV and the course is cosy enough for you to not have a lot of hope for Racing TV to be the flag bearer on this, if you like. The people I would look to maybe pick something like this up would be possibly Greg Wood in The Guardian. I know he's had a pop in the past about it. Robin Cook's lad in the Post. He'd be another one that maybe look at it. But when you look through the ranks of the media, outside of Racing TV, because I don't think, irrespective of what they might say, I think they're limited with what they can actually put to these clerks. I don't think anybody at the race course or at Racing TV wants the Racing TV presenter really shoving it up a clerk before the meeting starts.
I don't know though. To be fair to Gravy Train Graham, he gave the best interview we've had so far when he accosted, if you like, Kirkland Telrong and at Haydock the when they got abandoned, and I thought he gave him a brilliant grilling.
He did.
Has he worked there since?
Maybe Kirkland's a different sort of target, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, and I think that resulted in abandonment, which is sort of a pretty seismic thing. I think the more kind of insidious element is that just day-to-day stuff. That's the thing that doesn't really attract a lot of attention. But every day you've got doubts about official going descriptions and overwatering, etc. And it was only because I think that particular meeting was abandoned that it kind of, came to the fore a bit more. But it's all kind of forgotten about again, isn't it? I think the problem with sort of the broadcast media is that there aren't, whilst there's some very good broadcasters, they are not in the main habitual punters, are they? That's the thing. They're not betting every day, so therefore it's kind of, it's not really an issue unless it's a particularly high profile event or a classic or whatever.
Yeah, Joe said, Chris, I mean, there's probably a very small percentage of people that follow racing actually give a monkeys about this,
Yeah,
because
that's it.
Your Saturday punters, your bloggers, your lads, they aren't half. They want their hacker on and fuck you, it doesn't matter what they're doing.
And the steak, John, the steak.
Yeah, that's it, I mean, how much water goes on, it doesn't matter, it's how much gravy's going on the steak.
Peppercorn sauce, John.
That's what counts. It's not the water on the course, it's dressing on the salad.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing that does this lead back there? And I mean, I'd never had said this at the time because obviously Big Mac was very divisive in terms of like love and hate from people within the game, what they thought of Big Mac's contributions to the sport. So it turns out, if you love your betting and you love the game and you want it to thrive, Big Mac's a massive loss to the sport. He was a great pundit in that if he saw anything wrong, he'd call it out and he'd call it out on at the races on Sunday on the racing debate. He'd call it out even on a midweek day, and he'd let people be aware of issues. And I think because of the loss of Big Mac, to a degree, I think we've steered away from betting, and it's proven now at race courses on Saturdays when people turn up. It's full of drunks. It's not about betting anymore. It literally is a great outdoor boozer, and that's why the books are moaning.
Get the clients that you market towards. They have marketed towards the lads. Let's all have a piss up, Love Island, get our Giacomo suits on type crowd. Well, if that's what you market, you spend your marketing spend to attract. That's what you're going to get. But with that, you're also going to get pisshead, you're going to get fights, and you're going to get people that aren't actually where betting is a sort of a byproduct of the day out of getting drunk. But if that's what you market to attract, that's what you're going to get. That's it.
Yeah. Talking of Giacomo suits, I know they aren't getting them these days. I'm approaching moo size. He's getting desperate.
Homer Simpson.
Yes, he's.
What you're on now, like Bad Rhino?
Well, he got. I don't know what. I mean, the producer sorts me out with my clobber. But I've gone from XL to double XL to treble XL to moo.
Oh my God! Wash yourself with a rag on a stick.
I will be when it's 26 degrees later this week. Yeah. Quentin Franks. See, we're not the only people here. Another serious punter and a good contributor to the show, professional punter Quentin Franks has been on, and he was furious at the coverage, racing TV coverage at Haydock on Thursday. He said Kieran Skidmark came in after the second and said it's on the soft side of good to soft, and his filly needed easy ground, or words to that effect. And he said then the rest of the card, you then had Peter Norton waffling on about horses with soft ground, etc., which was against what the Times were saying. Well, his point is why clerks will listen to jockeys and say, how's it riding? Well, the jockeys are as clueless as anyone. They can sit on.
I would suggest if you're watching racing TV with Norton and the sound on, you probably deserve to do your bollocks in.
So get it done in, Quentin.
But isn't that just it? Racing is unique in that that betting plays an enormous part in the enjoyment and obviously the funding of the sport. So you can get away with pundits in other sports that understand the personalities, etc., and you can probably have ex-footballers in about the tactics, but betting is unique. So the only way to crack that is to have professional punters assisting with the presentation. Otherwise, you're just going to get kind of generalists, as you do, in lots of other sports, because racing is unique. Without betting, it's just horses running around a field owned by rich people.
Yeah, but the tracks have got to get out because, as I said, they've turned Saturdays into big, massive outdoor boozers. You know, they've got the kind of land that no other pub can offer, and obviously they have like stag do's. There'll be 10 or 12 lads going for a meet up and a great day out or a great night out, which is fair enough. I ain't got a problem with that also, but it's as if like they've stopped marketing or concentrating on the betting side of things.
Well, they have, as we said before. Betting's a new tobacco. It's kind of everything except betting. Betting's a sideshow, and a sort of an unpleasant one at that. You know, they would rather you do 10 lines of nose bag, drink 10 bottles of wine, and have a fight than have a bet. That's kind of, I mean, it's a bit of hyperbole on my part, but betting is toxic. We've had a conversation before. You have a bet. Oh, you like a compulsive gambler. It's almost like saying, if someone says, "Oh, I enjoy my wine," and saying, "Well, are you an alcoholic?" Well, no, I just enjoy the occasional glass of wine. But if you have a bet, in the minds of a lot of people, it's something wrong with you. You're compulsive. You're in the grip of some evil addiction. And
spot on. Yeah.
That's kind of how it's viewed now, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's such a shame. I mean, you watch ITV's coverage. I watch very, very little, and when I do switch on, it's usually for the bigger meetings, just to see what they're doing and how they're presenting.
Tuesday.
What's that?
You're in for a treat Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, good God. I mean, I'm round at John's Tuesday, and be ITV on, and I've got to put up with that. They've got 19 presenters. ITV.
Well, it'll be. You'll have the fashion coverage, which sort of has crept into meetings like Goodwood and other sorts of less prominent meetings. You'll have that. You'll have probably the homeschooling thing. You'll have that risible social stable shit with Ollie Bell and whatever Love Island person they can. And it's packed out, and it's all about the social aspects. All about getting people involved behind the scenes. But turning a blind eye to the fact that the sport's funded by people having a bet. That's the problem. No one wants to admit that betting fuels the industry. Without it, it doesn't exist in its current form. And that's just weird, isn't it? It's weird that you can't admit to promoting the one thing that keeps the show on the road, that keeps all these people in employment.
Yeah.
You'd think it was sail clubbing keeping it on the road, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's everything but people in betting shops or at home or online, whatever, having a bet that enables the sport to be funded. And it's almost, they will cover bet, and it's not true to say that there is no betting coverage on terrestrial TV, but it's almost they're embarrassed to do it. And even when they do it at the big meetings, it's turned into a sort of a sideshow, with Gleeson and Chapman sort of hamming it up like two rep actors, doing a kind of a Brian Ricks farce. It's not given any great seriousness. Whatever people said about Tanya Stevenson, I thought she was dull as dishwater, but at least it was a sort of slightly more cerebral, more kind of considered approach, because that's what keeps the show on the road. But when they talk about betting now, it's like, it's a joke. It's humorous.
There must be shoveling £500 of Charlie into Gleeson, because he was never like that. He was never like that when he was on RTV, was he, in Ireland?
Very excitable, very excitable. Fella he is. Christ, I mean, I'd like to be on whatever he's on. Tell you what, that is pure power, bro, isn't it?
well, it's a good lineup this week. You've got Matt Chapman, O'Sheen.
Oh,
yeah. Who's got the biggest bag?
He's got a good PR agent. That's what he has got. Fucking hell, he's opening supermarkets and fucking writing columns. He hasn't done stop, has he?
I was expecting to see him on Love Island this week.
If they bring back Thunderbirds, I know he'll be playing Virgil. It'll be him, won't it?
Yeah.
Like Icy says, who's going to be a fashion correspondent this week? Robbie Dunn.
Dunn, yes, that's absolutely right. Yeah, Johnny Farrelly.
Yeah, unbelievable. Only in racing. So I mean that leads on nicely, really, into betting then. And this is an extra topic I've brought in, and I think. I've had Jeff Banks on wanting to come on again. He wants to talk about getting on and why the game is in the position it's in. You have a lot of sides of the coin here. You have punters moaning that they'll open an account and get 2 bets on. They fed up. Then they get asked for all these documents, etc., as we've touched on in past shows. But I suppose there's the other side of the coin, like Ben Keith will come on and he'll blame the punters. He'll say, "You've had it good for so long. You've been doing syndicates, trying to have the bookies' pants down, etc., etc. You know, what is there a solution to the online game, or is it completely finished?
It needs some hard and sharp regulation, doesn't it? You know, you can't just let brokers just willy-nilly suspend accounts and knock bets back. You know, I mean, there's got to be minimum later lows or something. You know.
I mean,
but they tried that allegedly, haven't they? And what the bookmakers say, and I think Chris Poole has sort of discussed this before on Twitter, that nobody can kind of agree what that looks like. And I don't know why. There might be various technical reasons, but you know, they said that whilst that's a persuasive solution, it's very difficult to implement. But I don't know why it's difficult. But my view is, and it's not, as all of my views are not backed with any evidence other than my own gut feelings. So I just think that the bookmakers closing accounts, I think they're far too aggressive, and I'd be fairly confident that if they unrestricted, you know, a significant proportion, I think the bookmakers would make money, because they are restricting idiots. There are people on Twitter who don't know which end the hay goes in, who are going on, so I'll be restricted so and so, and you think, why on earth are you restricting these fools? You know, let them play. You will beat them. You know, it is inconceivable to me that there are so many sharp punters in the UK. Yes,
there isn't. Yeah.
Don't get it. That, you know, there aren't that many. There are people that you know aren't sharp punters who are genuinely restricted. Why? Why are they? Because, I mean, I don't know.
I'm around some of the sharpest punters there is that's still left. Literally, in my circle, there are punters around me that would blow me out of the water in terms of, you know, what they actually have made out of the game and everything else. And I'm sort of proud to be around these people. Yeah. But at the same time, we're not asking for these people like that's surrounding me to get on. We're asking, like you say, I don't hear of very many people in the game. When somebody says, "Have you heard of him? Have you heard of this?" Never heard of him. Oh. It's just. I mean, I genuinely believe that, like you say, Chris. I think the algorithms, whatever they use, are very quick to. I mean, I'll tell you how quick they could be. Let's say you follow a tipster online or something, and he's a good judge, a fairly good judge, and he tips one up at 10-1. It goes off 5-2 and gets beat. They'll probably ban you if you're on a fresh betting account. So let's say you've just signed up with whoever sports or whoever.
I would say this for my own, and obviously I follow every day what you tell me, Lisa. So leave that to one side. I am restricted, everywhere. I mean, literally to 1 and 2p stakes. Now, you know, if the bookmakers knew just what a stiff I was, they would take the restrictions off. I will never beat them with my own opinion, never. And I don't quite say that, but for some reason, because I've backed a few shorteners or something that's a little bit live, because I've heard, you know, occasionally hear the odd bits and pieces, they've obviously jumped to a conclusion, oh, this guy's got warm info. I haven't, you know, and yet I cannot get on anywhere. And it's madness, because they beat me all the time. I guarantee they would have the better of me every 12 months. And yet, you know, even Mr. Banks, you know, closed my account because, you know, I bet somebody got beat at short head that went from 5-2 evens. Right now, you know, was that a tip? Yeah, it was a tip. But all the other bets I had with the firm, which were just my own guesses. So had he not, he'd have had loads on me. But I'd be delighted to get on at whatever price. But he'd beat me. Everyone beat me. And yet, there are loads of people like me who they will be are restricted. And you just think, well, bollocks. What's the point? Find a new hobby.
I think the worst part of the online bit is so let's say like myself and my accounts or whatever, like if I go back to them or whatever, why can't I get a bet on the Derby, say like half an hour before the off? Why can't I get a really good bet on the Grand National like half an hour? Why?
You've got no in those races. That nothing. There's everything's out in the open. You're not talking about an A9 at Sheffield or a darts match somewhere, you know, or something where they don't. It's the Derby. It's there for you to see. You know, they're all trying. Right? Yeah. Why is the algorithm so rigid for even, you know, for big races? But it is mad, and there are lots of, you know, I saw a post several months ago. A blogger was complaining he's been restricted with, I don't know, whatever firm, Paddy Power, And you think this is just the machine just is taking a view based on a very limited sample. Lift the block for lots of people, and the bookmakers will slaughter them.
Jeff Banks actually accused me this week on Twitter of being naive for suggesting that bookmakers really should employ better odds compilers, to form their tissues and opinion. He said it's more to it than that. Agree or not agree with Jeff's opinion that I'm naive?
Would disagree, but John probably's got something more intelligent to say than me. I mean, but I disagree wholeheartedly. I mean, yes, that's probably not the reason. As Ben Keith said,
why is it naive?
He said it's moved. He said he claims the game's moved on to syndicates, like WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, all multi-targeting, many different accounts.
So is that what he's got doing his odds?
I know, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'd like to think that if I could price up, not every race, I cannot. It's impossible for me to price up every race and beat people. I agree with that, but it is possible for me to price up. I don't know. So I think I could price up. I could pick my own races and think there's no bent yards in this, no bent, so on.
Yeah.
And I could probably do 5 or 6 races a day a lot more accurately than they can. Hence, that's why I'm on this side of the fence. But that's the thing. So yeah, I didn't agree. I know what he's trying to say. That there are obviously a lot of dirty stuff going on online. People trying to lift everyone's leg. But
I tell you what, if Jeff did want to come on, it'd be very interesting if, as an experiment, he'd let you price 3 or 4 a day for him.
Yeah, I'd do it. I'd do it for nothing. See what he thought. In terms of
and see what happened. You know? That would actually add a bit of substance to whether you're naive and Jeff's right or whatever.
Yeah. It's a bit like and the way you'd work that out is, say, over like a period of time, you'd add up the SPs of the winners, the prices that I had them at, and who pays out the most. Am I beating SP, or is SP beating me? If you get what I mean, then I'm wrong. Then I'm beat. But if I destroy SPs in terms of I pay out much less at my prices than what the SPs are, then that's your answer. I think that's got him beat. But
I think he, he's right in the sense he's not the only answer. But I think that's sort of a slightly kind of not lazy response. That's not right. But it is the basis of having confidence in your own prices and your own sort of information network. WhatsApp groups, etc. Yeah, I mean, some are better than others. I mean, our mutual friend Icy has sort of pokes a lot of fun at these sorts of WhatsApp groups, and look, they're going to bet a few winners, but again, there aren't as many super sharp punters in the UK as bookmakers would have you believe. They'll go on runs, but over and in the final analysis, at the end of the day, most of the overwhelming majority of punters will lose. That's fact. You'll get people running hot, but there's a tiny percentage that do it year in, year out. People come and they go, and I think they're adopting quite a short-term approach, and I think they can make a lot more money if they just got a little bit bolder.
Yeah.
Easy for me to say because it's not my money, but that's my gut feeling. And look, the fact that I'm restricted and I know what I don't know, and that's a lot. And I'm thinking I would restrict me. I would lay me to whatever I wanted if I was a bookmaker.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the next topic.
Yep.
And this is a question leading in from John Robert. And he said on YouTube, do you have faith in the current leadership not to lead us down the bags route? John.
Absolutely not. I have zero faith in the current leadership. I think the current leadership is virtually non-existent. I mean, last week's Farrago, where she's voting against her own fucking proposal. I mean, that's just that's an idea, isn't it? Really?
She may as well sack her own staff, hasn't she?
Well, she wants to start by sacking herself. I mean, she has been shite from day one. I've said she's been shite from day one, and there's no sign of any improvement. I mean, how do you get rid of these people? It's just careerist after careerist. Not one of them has any love or respect for the game. They're a waste of time. You might as well sit a bucket of lukewarm piss there.
Well, you're right, and whilst we said this last week, whilst the Jockey Club has come in for loads of criticism over the years, the fact that these people that were in the Jockey Club didn't need the money but had a deep love for horse racing actually worked better in racing's favour. Yes, they had generational wealth. Yes, they're at the sort of the apex of the social pyramid and completely out of touch with the common man, but they loved the sport and took decisions, not one eye on their careers because they didn't have a career, because you don't have to if you're Lord whatever. They did it. The decisions they took were generally in the best interest of the sport. Now, when you get sort of professional administrators come in and run sports, they've got one eye on their next job, their next government appointment that, may be an honour. So, their leadership has either got to be really radical. The problem with that is it comes with risks. It could all blow up and you're busted flush. Or you just keep things ticking along for a few years. A new position comes on, you wave and you say, how wonderful time. I've enjoyed my time working with people in racing. It's a great sport and I've left it with solid foundation. And you go on and do something else because you're a career risk. But with the Jockey Club, they didn't need money. They're rich, so they just took the decisions in the best interest of the sport, which is perverse, really, when you think you've got sort of the ruling class are actually, have to serve the best interest of the sport rather than the middle class. It's bizarre.
Surely, Julie Harrington's decision to vote against her own team's proposals to cut 300 fixtures from the list.
Well, she abstained.
300 races, not fixtures, races.
Yeah, races. Sorry. Which is
rather than vote against.
But even abstained is just as bad, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but we'll be pulled up on that by someone who said, "Oh no, it wasn't a vote against." She abstained. So
I mean, say if the Chancellor abstained in his vote, like in support for the Prime Minister, that would be deemed as you don't support him, but you can't vote no because. So why can't she vote the changes through? This is telling me that she's. I mean, look, you've got to be careful what you totally say here because they've got a lot more litigation money than I have. Yeah. But it can only tell me one thing: that she doesn't believe that by cutting fixtures is a benefit to the sport, despite all evidence in racing and everyone in racing saying
nobody knows what she believes.
No.
She's just come in and told a party line about consensus this, consensus that. Nobody has a blank clue about what her vision for the sport is, how to take it forward or anything else. I'm assuming the idiots that interviewed her for the job have some sort of idea, because it might have been a good idea to ask her.
But I think with
the rest of us are all whistling in the dark with the woman, and basically it's a 6-figure salary that we might as well be chucking in the street.
Yeah. Go on, Chris, sorry.
Is we're past that stage. What we need is dynamic leadership, knocking heads together, setting out a vision and doing it. And if you either fall in or fuck off. I think consensus building doesn't work because everybody's tried that and it doesn't work. No. So when somebody to drive an agenda forward, there can be loads of people that are going to criticise you, but press on. And if you're right, then the sport benefits. Take a risk, roll the dice. Consensus only is going to lead you over a cliff sooner rather than later, and that'll be it then.
How does it work when you win the vote 9-6 to cut the fixtures, but still don't vote it through?
Don't know how that works, actually.
They made it 2/3 or something.
Yeah, I think it must be some sort of within the articles or whatever the how it's set up that you must have a certain number of votes. That's probably it.
Ridiculous. But again, that's only in this sport. I mean, so in answer to John Roberts' question, can we trust the current leadership not to lead us down the bad route? Absolutely none whatsoever, like we've all said. And the reason being, the big pieces in this are ARC. They're the big evil in all of this because we know what ARC want. They want their own flapping racing. They want their own racing. They sell media rights on their own. They want out of the BA. They want to do their own thing and become their own racing entity. Like you
want to cut the fixture list down, unlicense all the ARC tracks.
Yeah, I do. But this is it. Where's the backbone? Yeah. I'd be saying if I was BHH, I'd be saying that tomorrow. I'd be saying right
me, and I'd do that overnight and say right. ARC, you're unlicensed now. You're a flapping organisation.
Yeah, you can.
Anybody racing there loses a licence as well.
Yeah.
Wallop, stitch that.
No, I would. I would. I'd do exactly the same. I'd check that. I'd check that with my legal department. But as long as it was in the BHA's rights to do so.
They all race under the rules of racing, don't they? And if you're withdrawing that, well, you're withdrawing it. I mean,
With there'd fear litigation, there'd be massive litigation, wouldn't there? And that would roll on for yonks and would bleed the BHA dry. So I suspect that's probably why that isn't on the agenda. But there has to be some kind of radical proposal, else we're just going to bumble along as we are. Yeah.
No, it's in a mess. And we've all agreed that we need leadership. We need proper leadership and someone to stick the bollocks on the discussions table. And
that's part of the course these days, I think.
It is Pride Month.
But, it's a Bernie Ecclestone, Max Mosley scenario. They right or wrong, transferred or transformed Formula One from a sort of a gentleman drivers kind of club to a multi-million-pound brand that everybody wants to get in on. And they did that by sheer weight of personality, having a vision and just, bullying their way through.
And I still don't know anybody that fucking watches it.
No, I don't. What a load of bollocks that sport is. But there are, that's not a view shared by, hundreds of people around the world.
Right. Ascot welcoming all the drug barons. Wesley Ward, over 400 minor career violations for drug offences. They're bringing back the milkshaking Aussies. They've been uber clean over the years, haven't they, the Aussies? What do we think about that? Do we? I mean, what makes me laugh is that we can all get on moral perches and start pontificating. We can start saying, well, look at the Arabs, look at their human rights record, look at Sheikh Mo, look at this, look at that, look and t'other. But Ascot have got this Wesley Ward's the Ascot poster boy, and Chris Waller's been wheeled around like he's some sort of well, it's.
I don't know this fixation from Ascot with foreign raiders. I mean, they absolutely crap one off over it, don't they? And, I mean, all these previous things with Wesley Ward, I mean, I take one look at him and my first thought is, what the fucking hell is he putting on his teeth?
Aren't they? They are extraordinary. If I had to go to get my teeth done, there'd be Wesley Ward. Like lovely, like big ones, like Ryland. That's what I want.
Wesley Ward's choppers.
Yeah.
Better than Alexander Dunn's.
Yeah, well, exactly right. Yes.
that needs to go on the glossary. Alexander Dunn, trainer, choppers.
Yeah. Wesley Ward, I mean, it's like he's been noshing the Joe Lux dog, isn't he?
Yeah. Tim Nice but Dims are Alexander Dunn's.
Yeah.
Cracking.
Yeah, beautiful. Thing to behold. But I suppose it's a bit of glamour. He's slightly sort of exotic. He's a bit of Hollywood, isn't he? And I suppose, it's better than wheeling out kind of Mick Easterby or Gosden, isn't he? He's got a zazz about him. So I suppose they're happy to overlook any infractions in favour of a, good 5 minutes of PR.
That's our version of TV. Hell, that. And Wesley Ward.
Yeah,
and Mick Easterby.
I'd be taking the header off the transporter if them traded the trifecta.
It would be an extraordinary scene, wouldn't it? I'm sure Mick would end up selling him a horse, I think, or something. They met.
You get 20 quid out of him, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
What price were you two laming then? Let's have a bar stewards side bet. What price that they go to some kind of gin bar and have a gin? Not champagne, because champagne's too obvious for Ascot. But what price they go to another gin and like an elderflower gin or something like that? What price? Can we have some fivers?
Oh.
Yeah. But we'll come to that at the end. I need to get my odds compilers onto this, so we'll issue our prices at the end. But
I'm consulting your WhatsApp group, ain't you?
No, I'm going on Betfair to see what I'll get them to create a market. They'll tell me what to think.
Yeah, banks will be withholding payment if you're part of a syndicate or an organised coup. Don't want any of that.
No.
We're all consulting each other now, so we can't get paid out.
No, joint enterprise.
Ourselves.
That's it. That's us done already. Okay, we'll come on to some Ascot questions then. And obviously we're doing a big show tomorrow night, so we're not going to reveal too much of what we're tipping at the moment. But a couple of questions on some horses' chances. Caldog's been on. Would love to hear your thoughts on Prosperous Voyage at Ascot. ran a corker in the 1,000 Guineas behind Cachet and has finished behind in Spiral twice by a couple of lengths. Think it's got a massive chance. John?
I think the key phrase there is behind Cachet.
Yeah, we don't rate the Guineas form, do we?
No, I'm not. I'm just not having Cachet. And if you finish behind Cachet, you're probably not as good as Cachet. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know the third's come out and won the Oaks, but I think that's a different entity, to be honest.
Fuck the Oaks.
Yeah, fuck the Oaks, yes.
Still shit for fuck the Oaks.
This is one you'll like, though. This is from John Mack, and I know you'll like this because I know you, and I know what you've spoke to me about this horse before. Famata in the Queen's Vase, John. Is he spoiling your bets?
Oh.
See, this is why you should listen to all podcasts, because you'll be waiting tomorrow for John's 3-point max bet on the fucking nose at 20s. Bang! Famata, bang!
Yeah, well, let's just say I'm keeping an eye on the going.
Well, yeah, I mean...
We all are.
John Mack, read into this what you will, but yeah, Famata, a very nice horse. Floater on debut and then very impressive second time out. And certainly... it caused some stirs in the camp here. We like the horse. But more to listen tomorrow, and you'll see what we're doing. Right, one final question before we close the show with a Jimmy Lindley, which I've got. Have you got any Jimmy Lindley this week, John?
No, I don't.
I've got a good bent one coming up. Anyway, Richard Lee says, when bookmakers sponsor a race, they usually promote what they have to offer. They should be made to promote the reality. For example, Sky Bet, you back a couple of winners, will limit your stakes handicap. I like that. Or even the bet where 7 furlongs try to make a withdrawal and will make you jump through hoops stakes.
Very good.
I like it, Richard Lee. Yeah, good. Good humour.
If we're going to promote the reality, it should be a case of you get up, you find Price-wise has tipped your horse, you can't get anything on at the price you wanted, the price crashes all the more, you nip out to the pie shop, you get back home, half the pie stuck to the fucking silver foil container, that goes all over the kitchen, the dog gets most of it, the missus starts playing out with you, you have a big fucking dust up with her. She won't let you watch the racing. You found that the horse you'd picked out and decided not to bother back is pissed up. And you're in bed by 5:30. That's the reality.
Yeah, thick.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Good stuff towards the end of the show. We're picking up. We're just getting warm. It's a shame we're finishing. Jimmy Lindley then. So the gin's kicking in with me as well. Right, so we go to yesterday at Limerick. The Irish gypsies parked up their caravans yesterday and decided that in the 5:30 race there yesterday, it was the Irish Stallion Farms EBF maiden, and Kieran Cotter, the man who's in trouble for the old needles at the moment. Kieran Cotter, inquiry into him for what he's doing. Colin Keane as well in the saddle. I mean, this is the jockey that they're on about replacing Brian Moore at Coolmore. And I mean, this is astonishing, really. If you watch the ride on Portville, I think this is one of the worst I've seen, like ever, in terms of like it's more obvious than Dale Winton. It finished 5th. I'm telling you, it could have won. 100%. It could have won that race, no problem. 6-5 favourite won it. Mahaba Ash May Me. And this Portville, I mean, Colin Keane. If that's Colin Keane's all-out drive, then Coolmore need to be looking elsewhere.
Well, let's be fair. There's still some Charlies that's waiting of David O'Meara getting the nod to take over from Hayden, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, obviously, Colin. But to be fair, Colin Keane has got the odd ride for Coolmore. They've had him on the odd one or two when he's.
He was last in the Oaks, wasn't he?
Yeah. It doesn't seem to.
Yeah, that thing that couldn't break cash yet.
You can't beat Cachet, you shit. That's the punchline for this show. I'm going to end it on that note because it's the greatest punchline of the show from John as usual. If you can't beat Cachet, you're shit. That's all from us. Bye for now.
Right, the show's over, boys. Thank you very much.